Okay, if I could have your attention here in the deadline room, we'll continue on with today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series media availability. We're now joined by Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 21 Motorcraft Quick Lane Tire and Auto Center Ford for Wood Brothers Racing. Now, Ryan, you spent a day up in New York City yesterday, and now you're in Talladega, Alabama. Could you just walk us through what went on in New York and some of the cool things you got to do?
Yeah, NASCAR had myself, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Eric Jones up to New York to do some, promotional things for not only the Talladega race, but for, the sport in general. So that was really neat to do. I enjoy New York personally for 2 or 3 days at a time, and then I have to leave there. But why is that? I don't like to be in the city very much. There's a lot of people there, but it was great. We did Fox and Friends, which was very cool. We had to be up at 6 a.m. though, so that was rough. But and then we did multiple things throughout the day. My favorite, I got to go to Marvel. That was pretty cool. It was their comic headquarters. It's where they kind of draw it all and make the new ones. So that was really neat personally for me to go do. So I'm hoping to be able to go back and do that again and learn more about it. But we did some great things, and NASCAR does a great job of getting, not only younger drivers but drivers in general out there and promoting whether it's the upcoming race or the sport. So I enjoy going to do that stuff, and I think it's really helpful for the sport as well.
Okay, let's open up the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start here with Chase and then go to Bob. Actually, let's start with Bob, and then we'll go with Chase.
Bob Hunker, ESPN. Plate races for the last decade have pretty much been won by drivers with more than 100 starts. Is there any of those drivers that you've learned anything more from?
Yeah, I feel like personally right now, in the past 4 or 5 years, I feel like Brad has been one of the best plate racers out there, and they've showed that, especially in the past 2 years. Him and his spotter, they have a great, communication side to where they know what's coming and they can anticipate things. So Brad's really good at that. Joey Meyer, his spotter, is great at predicting runs and things like that. So being a teammate with Brad and kind of watching him, what he does, that has really been helpful to me. I feel like we've had pretty decent runs, but I've never felt like we've been at that point where he's at, to where they have that kind of dominance the whole race. I feel like he can get out there and control the whole race, and that you don't see that very often, and he's really the one person I feel like who can do that in recent years. But I have to definitely watch him, and we learned a lot of stuff in the off season, so hopefully we can apply it. And I feel like Daytona was a good run for us, so I think bringing that over will be good.
Go next to Chase and then to Claire.
Chase Wellen, FoxSports.com. So after everything we've seen with Joey Logano and the 22 team and the penalty, what are your thoughts on the encumbered win rule?
I really haven't put too much thought into that. All these teams, no matter if it's the Penske Group, Hendrick Group, Gibbs Group, every single team tries to push their cars to the limit. And that's what this sport's about, is trying to get that little bit of advantage. And sometimes, the way the race goes, it doesn't you kind of get caught with something that is minute at the end of these races. But that's just the way it goes. You've seen it all throughout racing, and no matter what form of motorsport. But I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about the encumbered finish rule, so I probably wouldn't be able to give the best answer on that.
Go to your right to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I have a question and then a follow-up. One thing is, I'm wondering how much more comfortable you feel at a place like Talladega. You never really completely shake this place out, no matter how many years you've been here. But do you feel much more comfortable here?
I do. I feel like coming to these races, a lot of people say that, it's kind of up to fate and just it's lucky and you can't really control your destiny, which that is partially true, but you can really kind of control what you're doing here more than people realize, I feel like. And you see it with, there's people winning these races that win them all the time, and there's a reason for that. It's not that they're lucky time after time. They know what to do and they know how to get out front. And like I said, we haven't really mastered that yet. I feel like we do maybe a B-grade job at it, but it's a matter of getting that little bit extra more. So I feel pretty comfortable. I go back to Brad and his spotter and myself and my spotter, Josh Williams, I feel like have gotten a lot better throughout the last couple of years that we've been working together at these speedway tracks. And bringing fast cars also helps as well. But we feel pretty comfortable. We need a good run, to be honest with you. The last 2 weeks have been rough, finish-wise, where I feel like we've actually had pretty okay cars, and we'll just try not to get in trouble and hopefully get a good run and get back on track.
Also pretty impressive how you recap the Star Wars movies in 2 minutes, and I wonder, you got a lot of reaction from that. How did you plan for that, and it just came naturally? Nice job.
Well, thanks. Well, how that came about, we were shooting some stuff with Daryl Mott and Bubba Wallace and myself, and I was driving my bus somewhere. They were just shooting something with me, driving my motor home, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to just recap these films," which was great, and I had no problem doing it. Something I enjoy, if you didn't know, and I think that turned out really well. Honestly, I forgot about it for the longest time until it came out yesterday, and I thought it was pretty funny how it came out, so that was good, and it did get a positive reaction. Usually when I put stuff up about Star Wars or, comic stuff or Marvel, and it doesn't really get that big of a reaction. People are just like, yeah, whatever. But I felt like that did fairly well, and it was kind of funny. So that was pretty cool for those guys to go do. I think that was Daryl Mott's idea, and that turned out pretty cool.
Okay, we're going to go to Lee and then to Caleb.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. You guys had a bit of a media tour yesterday, and there's obviously a push to get the young drivers in front of different forms of media. Do you feel part of the responsibility to kind of bridge the relationship between the fans and the drivers for the next generation of drivers and fans?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it. Personally, I feel like the younger drivers, they have what's NASCAR trying to always reach, right? A younger fan base. And they've implemented things in the past couple of years to try to get that. And they do a great job at pumping out young drivers to try to connect with that younger fan and show that, we're your age, we're early 20s, and you should become a fan of NASCAR. And that's the stuff that NASCAR does. And I like I said, I enjoy doing that stuff and trying to grow the sport back to a younger fan base. And I feel like that's a big responsibility of ours, whether it's us four that were at New York yesterday, to Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, Joey Logano and Austin Dillon, who have been in it for a little bit. They're mid-20s, so they're still really young. So I do feel like we're kind of obligated to try to build that younger fan base up, and what better people to connect with than kids who are their same age, pretty much.
We'll keep it in the back right to Caleb.
Caleb, Whistler Speedway Digest. Could you just assess the first quarter of the season for you and the Wood Brothers team?
Yeah, I mean, we started off the year really, really strong. And I feel like where we didn't get great finishes in the first 6-7 races, we had really good cars and could never, whether things happen and not get the finish we deserve. But I'd say our season started off really strong, and like I said, the past 2 weeks have been kind of rough on us. Bristol was a shame. We were really, really fast, and then had that power steering issue, and then we had to ride around there for 300 laps to the end of the race. But and then Richmond, I thought we were going to actually salvage a really good finish out of that after not being very good all day, after running 18th all day. I think we drove up to 8th and got the car better, and then Kurt wrecked us. So I feel like those are the things we need if we don't run well. 3/4 part of the race is to keep working on our car to try to finish well and salvage finishes. That's what we were going to do last week, and I feel like what we didn't have last year. I feel like if we ran bad last year in the first portion of the race, we stayed there all day. So this year I feel like we've gotten a lot better at that. But I'm pretty happy with how the Wood Brothers team is working together right now, and where our performance is. It's just about, like I said, getting back on track right now and getting the finishes that we deserve. I feel like there's a lot of great racetracks for us coming up that we can definitely capitalize on.
Additional questions for Ryan? Ryan, thanks for taking the time to join us today, and may the
Thanks.
5th be with you.
Yeah, revenge of the 5th, man. Yeah.